easy is it to misidentify these drones? Do these Iranian-backed groups have drones with similar capabilities to those of the United States where it could be confusing?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to understand that the air defense capacity of these really tiny little outposts that we have scattered throughout Iraq and Syria is not anywhere near like what you see with the, some of these Patriot anti-aircraft systems that cover bases, large bases like Bagram in Afghanistan back in the day, those kinds of things. So it's a lot less capable. But it is supposed to be, to handle small scale things like rockets, the small scale rockets, and certainly drones. But, if the enemy is able to, figure out how we operate our what they call TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, and they watch enough and they reconnaissance the target enough, they can see, like for example, if that drone comes in at a certain time every day, or if it comes in at a certain path, then they can say, hey, let's try to mimic that and come in there. Because look, let's don't underestimate the enemy. They're very bright and they're very smart, and they can figure out ways to defeat our sources. And as this was the 165th, I think they said, attack, they've got a lot of experience of finding out what doesn't work.
So we don't yet know how the Biden administration is going to respond. But we do know is that it's not looking for war with Iran. But we have seen calls from Republicans like Senator Lindsey Graham to attack Tehran. Just how do you think the U.S. is going to respond here?
Biden is going to he's going to try to thread the needle, so to speak. He can't just launch another pinprick attack, because none of the ones that we've launched since October have had any deterrent effect, whether it's in the Red Sea or those against our troops in the Middle East there. So he's got to go with something bigger. But look, we need to be sober about this. This is not going to stop. If he goes with a large target array, if he has this over multiple days, which many sources I'm hearing tell me that's the likely outcome, then that's still not going to change anything. It's still going to leave our troops at risk, and the threat to them is going to remain high, which is why I say the smartest thing to do is to withdraw our troops from there and get them from those isolated places where they don't have as much defense to larger areas where they do have a lot more defense, which will not negate our security at all, which won't limit our options for security throughout the region, but it will limit our vulnerability. And I think that is key to doing.
We've talked so much since this conflict began about the concern of it broadening and certainly the concern of the U.S. being dragged in a more material way. Did this escalate it enough, or this could be an event where we really start to see that?
Without question, we are on the edge. And certainly President Biden is coming under enormous pressure to strike inside of Iran. There are so many people who have been really angry about this, whether it's retired generals, it's members of Congress that are really pressing to do this and trying to say, oh, Biden's weak if he doesn't do this. Biden has to do what's smart and wise, not what's emotionally satisfying in the moment, because American troops have been killed. So there is a lot of requirement for the president to defend us. And so he must go after the people that physically did this, whether that's Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq or this is Islamic resistance group that took responsibility. He does have to take them out, but he cannot do it in such a way that expands the war, and especially if that includes Iran. And that just makes it very difficult.